Ruthie, how are you doing? Sure, fine. Is your mic working?
I'm fine.
Great. So, are you ready to start? Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, you can start.
Imagine if there is no more agriculture in Uganda because of climate change. My name is Ruthie Faith Kimanya. This is Behind the Headlines. A few months ago, I carried out an interview with a fellow reporter from our media house on the effects of climate change on agriculture in northern Uganda. A report from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Husbandry and Fisheries indicates that over 500 heads of cattle are dying every month in northern Uganda. This trend not only affects the people living in northern Uganda, but also affects the food security of the Ugandan nation at large, which we see at a rate of 23% so far. I also find out that 23% of this food security is leading to death of very many other people in different other areas of the nation. We also do discover that crops in northern Uganda are drying up at a rate of over 1,000 acres, drying up every month as well. Dear viewers, the cause of all this havoc is none other than climate change. Continuously with our interview, we do reveal that climate change causes particular effects on different sectors of the country. But looking at northern Uganda, it is causing particular effects on agriculture. Our reporter, Nimanya Reef, had an exclusive interview with the most prominent farmer in northern Uganda, Mr. Okot, asking him what does climate change, or how and why does climate change particularly cause on the agriculture. Because there is a lot of drought, and this is what we are telling you, the people. There are very, very high temperatures, and these high temperatures are causing our crops to dry up. That is what is affecting our agricultural sector today here in northern Uganda. After our exclusive interview with Mr. Okot and a well-studied survey, we do discover that there is so much more. Climate change also causes pests and diseases to the plants and crops in northern Uganda. Today we do connect with Dr. John Tarema, who is apparently still at work. Good evening, Dr. John. Yes, good evening, Ruthie. Dr. John, what do you tell us about the solutions for these climate change impacts on agriculture in northern Uganda? I decide that farmers should practice climate-smart agriculture, conservation and crop rotation. They should also grow plants that are tolerant to high temperatures and should practice activities like zero grazing, which is favorable with or without climate change. Thank you so much, John, for sparing your time to be with us. We shall talk to you another time. Thank you. So dear viewers and dear followers of Behind the Headlines, we do realize today that people, we are the very causes of climate change. So I believe that with what we have discovered today, we can make a difference. I beg your pardon. Let's now make a change in our nation, since we know the impact of climate change in agriculture and its appropriate solutions. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been it for tonight. Please join us tomorrow as we discover what really caused the death of Dr. Apollo Milton Obote. Until next time, good night.
Nimanya, Ruthie, Faith. That was great. Right now, we are going to have another senior news anchor, and that is Nachitende Maria Goretti. Let's clap for her as she comes. Maria, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, you can start anytime.
When the rains fail, the farmer's hopes fail. A very good evening to our dear viewers. Thank you for staying tuned to NDC TV. Nechitende Maria Gority is my name, bringing unto you the national concerns. In today's session of Air It Out, this has been our big story today. Climate chaos, rising temperatures, and changing rainfall patterns threaten Uganda's agriculture sector. As the population continues to destroy Mother Nature through deforestation, bush burning, and rapid industrialization, climate change has found its way into the country and has put a great threat onto the agriculture sector. The temperatures in Uganda have risen by an average of 0.23 degrees Celsius and are projected to increase by 1 degree Celsius or 1.5 degrees Celsius if the situation at hand is not tackled. This change may seem insignificant, but according to the Ministry of Agriculture, maize yields have greatly declined by 24% as a result of the rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns. The climatic changes have altered the growing seasons, making it challenging for farmers to determine when to plant and harvest their crops. Climate change has also altered the prevalence and distribution of pests and diseases, which have posed devastating impacts on crop yield and quality. A combination of all these challenges in the agriculture sector has discouraged many farmers, forcing them to withdraw from their once main source of income, as they claim that the losses are too severe for them to bear. As a result, food production in the country has greatly reduced, causing cases of malnutrition, starvation, and even death. More to that, a study estimated that annual losses in the agriculture sector due to climate change could be as high as 3. Stay tuned for more national concerns, educative and important facts. I remain Nechitende Maria Gority, your news anchor.
Well done, Maria. Now we are going to have Chigundo Abdul Rahman. Let's clap for him as he comes.
As people continuously destroy the land and contribute to climate change, they don't know how their actions impact on agriculture in Uganda and worldwide. I'm Chigundu Abdurrahman. This is NTV Akawongezi, and tonight, join me to discover and explore why climate change impacts agriculture in the worst of ways and what we can do to solve this. Agriculture, which happens to be the backbone of Uganda's food security, accounts for approximately 6% of Uganda's greenhouse emissions. Yet, undoubtedly, it still remains one of the sectors most vulnerable to climate change and one that contributes most to the country's gross development product. From scorching droughts to devastating floods, farmers in Uganda face unprecedented challenges. According to experts, crop yields in some regions like Karamoja and Ankole are expected to decline by up to 30% in 2025, which will threaten food supplies not only for people in Karamoja and Ankole, but also for people in Uganda worldwide. How is this unfolding on ground? What does it mean for all of us? And crucially, what can be done to adapt and overcome? NTV investigates. Agriculture, which is both a contributor to and a victim of climate change, as global temperatures rise, we witness more frequent and unprecedented weather events disrupting farming cycles. In 2020, heat waves contributed for a 47% reduction in Uganda's wheat production, translating to millions of tons of loss in wheat grain. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change predicts that every 1 degree Celsius rise in global temperature, staple crops like wheat, maize, and sorghum could drop by 10%. Our correspondent, Gerald Jamie, was on ground in Barara, and when he interviewed Ndatukunda Athoni, who is one of the farmers who have experienced the impacts of this erratic weather firsthand, had this to say. Our farms are drying, our soil is soggy, and our seeds are not germinating. We are stuck and we don't know what to do. But many people don't understand how climate change affects agriculture. You see, drought leads to water scarcity, making irrigation harder to sustain, making it harder for people to water their crops. Flooding washes away topsoil, depleting its fertility and leaving farmers with barren land. But lastly, pests and diseases, once confined to certain climates, are spreading due to rising temperatures in these different regions. When interviewed, Dr. Churchill, a climate activist, explains, we're not just seeing a climate crisis, we are witnessing a food crisis in the making. Farmers need urgent support to adapt to this changing before it is too late. Despite these challenges, everyone knows, and these particular experts know, there is hope. Advances in technology are helping farmers to adapt. In regions like Karamoja, for instance, drought-resistant seeds are enabling crops to survive with minimal water, which are leading to things like high yields. Precision farming tools like satellite monitoring and AI assist farmers in producing the better yields and optimizing resources, predicting the best times to plant and harvest. In other regions like Wakiso, farmers are able to implement sustainable practices like crop rotation and agroforestry in order to boost their yields even under these harsh conditions. Experts emphasize that global governments must step in, invest in climate-resilient infrastructure, provide subsidies for sustainable farming, and fostering global cooperation. The relationship between agriculture and climate change is delicate, and the stakes couldn't be any higher. Food security, economic stability, and livelihoods are all on the line. But with innovation, resilience, and collective action, we can overcome these challenges. As consumers, citizens, and advocates, we all have a role to play. Sustainable farming, reduce food waste, and push for policies that prioritize the environment. This is Chigundu Abdurrahman reporting on the front lines of climate change and agriculture. For more on this story, visit www.ntv.com. Stay informed, stay engaged, have a good night, and remember, Together, we can secure a future for our harvests.
Great. So we are going to be having Lubega Akram. Akram, how are you doing?
Fine.
Are you ready to start?
Not yet.
Okay. Are you ready to start now?
Good afternoon. This is Lubega Akram live on WTV, and this is going to be your investigative segment. Agriculture contributes to 80% of the GDP of Uganda, whereby the most revenue of Uganda, the Ugandan country, comes from agriculture. But in a new development, we're seeing that climate change, a global problem, has come in and is taking down agriculture at a fast rate. Let us enter our news segment. What causes these? What is the link between agriculture and climate change? It's really a thin thread between agriculture and climate change, because we're seeing there are irregular seasons in the there is drought in Karamoja, whereby old people go days and months without food, which has caused excessive food insecurity, and it has led to the downfall of the Karamoja region in Uganda. So, to enlighten you on the cause of drought in that area, Karamoja, I've spoken to the district agriculture officer of Karamoja region, whereby he's telling us that there is excessive drought in the area and the natives are struggling to plant the sorghum, the maize, the millet. It's drying up at a fast rate. And the natives, they don't have the capacity, the money to buy that irrigation equipment. Thank you. So, we are going also to the western, whereby the region of Kasese is struggling with still effects of climate change, whereby we are seeing that River Nyamwamba burst its banks due to the high water levels in Lake Albert, and a lot of area has flooded, leaving farmers with no land to plant their crops, whereby leading to food insecurity. This is a major reason why we should be aware of this impact of climate change on agriculture in Uganda. The way we can solve this impact of agriculture, of climate change in Uganda is that we can ensure that the farmers in the country get to use irrigation. They get to acquire the modified crops from the National Agriculture Advisory Services. We have seen that the government has gone to put measures, to put policies whereby NADS is giving out free seeds to the people of Karamoja and the West Nile region to enable them conquer this impact of climate change. And in another sad note, climate change brings about pests and diseases. In a recent development, we have seen that the people of Isingiro district have been captivated by the armyworm. This armyworm is brought about by the dry seasons there. The armyworm destroys the crops coming from the roots, whereby by the end of the season, the farmer goes to the garden and we see there is no, beg your pardon, the plant just falls down, and in the cases of cassava, you don't find any tuber. And we have spoken to the district office of Isingiro, and he's telling us it's really hard to capture this armyworm. The armyworm comes out during the night, and in the day it's inside. That's on a sad note. This is to show that most of the parts of Uganda are grappling with climate change effects on agriculture. So I implore you out there, you should be in the know that climate change should not be taken lightly. You should ensure that you improve on your agriculture methods. You should go and get the modified plants, seeds from NADS, the National Animal Advisory Services Committee, and get the seeds. I remain Libega Akram, live on WTV, Ekula Yebuka. Thank you.
Well done, Akram. We are going to have Nakamwada Marion. How are you doing, Marion?
I'm fine.
Great.
Yes.
Are you ready to start?
Yes.
Okay. You can start anytime.
Welcome to Bridging the Gap, a special investigative report that takes you to the heart of Palisa, Eastern Uganda. Tonight, we will expose the shocking truth about the education gap in this region and explore the impact of the new curriculum on students, teachers, and the communities at large. Palisa's educational gap is a ticking time bomb, threatening to drill the future of an entire generation. We spoke to experts to understand the causes and consequences of this crisis. Our investigation, which involved analyzing data from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and conducting interviews with over 50 stakeholders, revealed that a staggering 75% of Palisades schools lack basic resources, including textbooks and technology, 60% of teachers haven't received sufficient training on the new curriculum. 40% of students struggle to keep up due to inadequate support. We get to hear from a student who says she wants to be a doctor, but lack of resources hinders her dreams. I am struggling to keep up. Well, that's what she says. Good enough. Well, in Palisa, we get to listen from an expert who proposes that increased funding for education, programs supporting students from low-income backgrounds and ongoing teachers training and support shall bridge the new curriculum education gap. You who is watching me live at your home in your gorgeous sitting room, you can make a difference. Share your thoughts on social media using #BridgingTheGapPalisa. Support organizations working to improve education in Palisa. Just a recap and a reminder to tonight's news. Introduction to educational gap, expert interviews, investigative findings, proposed solutions. Tonight's report sheds light on Palisa's education gap. Together, we can bridge it and unlock potential. Education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. Let's wield it for a brighter future in Palisa. Live right here at NBS, Marion Nakamada has been your news anchor tonight. Good night, shalom.
Well done, Marion. And now I'm going to have Niwatu Haire, Cindy Rosanna. Let's clap for her as she comes. Rosanna, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Great. You can start.
In a world where knowledge is power, education is the key to unlocking potential of individuals, communities, and nations. But what happens when this right is denied to some? Tonight on Beneath the Surface, our investigative segment, we shall be shining a spotlight on the educational gap in Karamoja, Northern Region, where poverty, lack of infrastructure, and cultural barriers are threatening the futures of an entire generation. Join me, Cindy Rosanna, as we explore the challenges and opportunities in this critical region. Our investigation has revealed that the literacy rate in Karamoja stands at just 22.6%, the lowest in Uganda, while the dropout rate stands at 70%. Poverty, cultural barriers, and lack of infrastructure are the major contributors to this educational gap. We spoke to Rokiru Richard, a parent from Karamoja, who shared his struggles in getting his children an education. He says that the people of Karamoja actually want to send their children to school, but it's difficult. They have to choose between sending their children to schools or feeding them. Cultural barriers also play a significant role in the educational gap. Many children in Karamoja are expected to prioritize traditional practices over formal education. Among Charles, a community leader from Karamoja, explained the cultural challenges facing the region. He says that in their culture, education is not prioritized. He says that many children are expected to learn traditional skills instead of attending school. But meet Akello, a 12-year-old girl from Karamoja. Despite walking 5 miles to school every single day and often going hungry, she remains determined to succeed. She's one of the top students in her class and dreams of becoming a doctor one day and helping her community. Akello's story showcases the resilience and determination of children in Karamoja who face numerous challenges in pursuing their education. So, what can be done to address this educational gap? Our investigation recommends increased investment in education infrastructure, targeted programs to address poverty and cultural barriers, and support for community-led initiatives to promote education and literacy. As we conclude our investigation into the educational gap in Karamoja, Uganda, we're reminded of the wise words of Barack Obama: "You can't get very far without a good education." Indeed, education has the power to transform lives, communities, and nations. But for the children of Karamoja, this power remains out of reach. So, let us heed Obama's words and wield the power of education to change the world one child at a time. That's all we have for you today on Beneath the Surface. I'm Cindy Rosanna. Thank you for watching and have a lovely afternoon.
Well done, Cindy, Rosanna. And finally, we are going to be having Rinda Blair. Let's clap for him as he comes. Blair, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Are you ready to start?
Let me first check here something I want to do. Just 2 minutes. Okay, I'm ready to start.
Take it away.
Negoza Day, Akublengoma Nelzna. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. My name is Ainda Blair and welcome to News 24/7. And tonight we are going to be discussing the education gap in the education system of Uganda. As per the report from the Ministry of Education and Sports, it says that with the introduction of the universal primary education and universal secondary education, that is UPE and USE, there has been an increase in the enrollment rate of students enrolling for these different levels of education, with 675,000 people reporting for the primary sector, 776 reporting for the secondary sector, and 896 reporting for the tertiary sector. It shows a great impact and analysis of the literacy levels in Uganda. However, despite these gains, the education system in Uganda struggles to provide quality education to the citizens of Uganda, leaving many feeling uncertain in the sea of future. In an extensive interview with teacher Robert Byamagara, a science teacher at Bwiri Primary School, Bushenyi Sub-County, Mitoma District, explains that he teaches 36 students in a class that lacks enough desks and the torn desks and torn textbooks they use. Teacher Byamagara explains that some students lack textbooks, whereby 6 students use only one textbook, which does not allow them to have enough content. This has resulted into the poor performance of the school, and explains that in the recent released examination, that is the primary living examinations, the school only managed to scoop 2 students out of the 35 students that sat for the exams last year. Mr. Bekunda Bernard, as parents also at Bwiri Primary School, explains that the school also has only 2 latrines, of which one belongs to the staff members and another one is used by both boys and girls, which explains the danger where their children live. He says that their children are exposed to the risks of having health infections, and at the worst, the children might even result into death. But who should be blamed, or what should be done, or what went wrong in the first place? Agabadeo, the district education officer, in an exclusive interview with News 24/7, tells us that the government has tried its best to provide these resources at school, but the problem, the parents send more children compared to the government's program, because the government is supposed to pay for only 3 children per household. However, parents tend to send more than 3 to the school, making it incomparable to the resources available at the school. He adds on that the government has not done its best. He believes that, but the government is in association with international organizations and private organizations to make sure that these students at school have their better services, whereby the government is trying to increase the number of teachers at school. The government is trying to provide more resources at school. Therefore, Mr. Deo urges the parents that they should at least send some money in terms of school fees to help run this UPE school, because it's no longer what they call Bonaba Some, but it has changed it Nyambanku Yambe, of which the program, they do believe that if this is enhanced, the government can help and have educated, sorry about that, the government can have an educated society, and at the end of the day, the society can also benefit from the government. However, he says that the journey does not require the government only. It's a journey that requires both of them to work together. Therefore, he says that let the government help the people and the parents help the government. In conclusion, I would like to remind you the saying that our dear viewers out there, I want you to know that if you don't help your child now, you will not get someone who's going to help you in the end. So let us try to fight for our children through the government's help, and us as the parents to have a better future for them. That's it, what we had for now. Let's go for a short commercial break. We shall be right back to discuss what really went wrong in Parliament, to see the fights. Let's go for a short commercial break. We shall be right back. Thank you.
Well done, Blair. And that marks the end of our news. That marks the end of the news anchoring semi-finals. Thank you.